Yes. Is it correct?
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So myself, Dr. B.C. Chanyal from the Department of Physics, from the GB Pant University of Agriculture and the Technology, Pantnagar, Uttarakhand. And uh, uh, the topic of my presentation is the non-commutative octonion algebra and the strong interactions. So this is the outline of my presentation. The first one is the general introductions. Next one is the octonion algebra, SU3 symmetry and its octonion representation, octonionic color quark and their interactions, octonion color confinement and the glue wall formations, and finally the result and conclusions. So we start from the general introductions. So the two fundamental mathematical structures, I mean the division algebra, a physicist use in his everyday life are the real as well as the complex numbers. So as we well knows, complex numbers can be treated as a pair of the real numbers with a specific multiplications law. Okay, so one can however go even further and build two other set of the numbers known in mathematics as a quaternions and octonions. The quaternions formed as a pair of the complex numbers are non-commutatives, whereas the octonions are non-commutative as well as the non-associative formed as a pair of the quaternions numbers. The four set of the numbers are mathematically known as the division algebra. I mean, so octonions are sometimes known as the Cayley numbers. So these are the references for that. So this is the summary about the division algebra. So according to celebrated Hooke's theorems, there exist only four type of the division algebra. So first one is the reals, second is complex, third is the quaternion, and the last one is the octonions. So this is the mathematical background in this paper. So in this study, we use octonion algebra to discuss the behavior of the strong interaction. Strong interaction is a fundamental interaction. Because of the octonions are last division algebra, no further generalizations being consistent with the law of the mathematics. That's why we choose the octonion algebra to study the strong interaction behavior. So what is the octonion algebra? So let us begin with the octonion algebra, which is a type of the hypercomplex norms division algebra with twice the amount of the dimension as the quaternion over the real numbers. The octonions variables, suppose it is x o indicated a octonion algebra. Its elements the real 8 numbers may expressed using the 8 real integers. So that means in equation 1, we express an octonion variable xo in terms of a linear combinations. So here we see that E naught denotes the multiplicative unit elements for the octonions, and EP, where P goes to 1 to 7, denotes the imaginary octonion units. So we have the 8-dimension algebra. Finally, so these octonions basis, I mean E naught and EP, obey the following relations. These are the multiplication rules for the octonion algebra. For examples, we have E naught equal to 1, EP square equal to -1, E naught EP equal to EP, E naught equal to EP, and so on. So this is these are the multiplication relations. 5 minute में. So where PQR goes to 1 to 7s, I mean the 7 the unit elements for the octonions, and one E naught is a scalar. I mean the multiplicative unit elements. And here we choose two brackets, first one and the second one. This type of the bracket indicated the commutative, and this type of the bracket indicated the anti-commutative relations. And where the del PQ indicated the canonical delta Dirac functions. So here we summarize the multiplications of octonion basis elements. So this is the multiplication tables. And here we see that the permutation PQR is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 1, 2, 5, 7, 1, 6, 5, 6, 2, 5, 5, 4, 3, and the 7, 3, 6 indicates some values. And this value we have the permutation equal to 1 for the settings PQRs. Okay, so this is the multiplication table generally. So the scalar and the vector elements of this octonion algebras, I mean the variable XO, can be split as the scalar functions elements is equal to half x plus x conjugates. It is a octonion conjugates is equal to, if you solve this, it is x naught. I mean the scalar components of this algebra is x naught. And the vector components is equal to half x minus x bar, where the x is the octonions. So that means we have the vector elements. So in this equation number 3, we can say that a octonion's variables has some scalar elements as well as some vector elements. Okay. So as such, the other important characteristics of the octonion algebra, such as the conjugates of the product of two octonions, norms, inverse, are expressed in these equations. Okay. Now we comes to the strong interaction. SU3 symmetry and its octonion representations. So in SU3 group theory, the octonions play a critical significance. We start with the SU3 Lie group, which has 8 generators represented by 3 cross 3 the Gell-Mann matrices. If the G alpha, where alpha equal to 1 to 8 denotes the generator of the SU3 symmetry, then we have these equations. This is the commutation relations, where the F alpha beta gamma is a structure constants, and that is entirely antisymmetric when any two entities are the interchange. Here the value of the F alpha beta gamma is equal to 1 for the alpha beta gamma is equal to 1 to 3. And this the structure constant is equal to half for these two these permutations, and equal to root 3 by 2 for this permutation. So this is the SU3 symmetry case. Okay. So thus the Gell-Mann's lambda matrices with relation the G alpha equal to lambda alpha by 2 can be expressed the SU3 group generators. These are the SU3 group generators called the lambda matrices in SU3 symmetry. So we have the 8 lambda matrices. So in SU3 group symmetry, we have 3 square minus 1, I mean 8 generators. So how we relate these generators in terms of the octonion algebra? The relationship between octonion basis elements and the Gell-Mann lambda matrices has also the beautiful relations. Here, this is the octonion basis, and this the corresponding to the SU3 generators. Like if E1 is the basis elements for the octonions, so the corresponding to this octonion basis, we have the SU3 generator I lambda 1. So similarly, we have 8 generators for case of the SU3 octonion symmetry. Here we use the octonion basis elements to represent this group symmetry. So because of the antisymmetric structure constants of SU3 symmetry and the octonion structure constants are isomorphic. So that's why we write here the relations. This is the case for the SU3 symmetry and this structure for the case of the octonions. So how we can relate these are two antisymmetric structure constants, and this relation indicated the commutation relations between these. So equation number 6 indicated generally the commutation relation between how we can choose the octonion algebra for the case of the SU3 strong interactions. So the SU3 group subgroup of the octonionic Hilbert space has intrinsic covariance group G2. G2 is called the octonion group. So in this context, let us consider the shift operators in the complex 5-octonion field. So these are the shift operators. I mean U12, U4, 5, U6, 7s, and the complex conjugate of these octonions shift operators are U12 complex conjugates is equal to this much. So these are the 6 shift operators for the octonion case, where E1, E2, E3 to E7 are the octonions basic elements. So the complex octonion elements and its conjugates are indicated here. So these are the shift. Shift operator means it behaves like a rising and the lowering operator for the SU3 symmetry. Additionally, if the rest of the octonions basic element, I mean E0 and E3 indicated the Cartan's operators given in the equation number 8. U3 is a Cartan operator is equal to minus I E3 and U0 equal to 2 by root 3 into the E0. So these two indicated the Cartan operator and the rest of 6 indicated the shift operators. The octonion Cartan operator U3, U0 play an important role to consider isospin and the hypercharge for these strong interactions. As a result, octonionic Gell-Mann-Nishijima formula has now become the QO equal to U0 plus U3 plus U0 by 2. Here, the QO indicated the total octonionic electric charge. Octonionic color quark and their interactions. To study the SU3C, C indicated a color charge, I mean. So SU3C symmetry in strong interaction, we start with the usual 3 different color charges and their anticolors. Here we indicated R bar for the red color charge, G bar for the green, and B bar for the blue. This is these are the primary colors in case of the strong interactions. So consider a single quark with three distinct color states indicated by the chi-c equal to RGB. So the color spinor can be represented by the equation number 9. This is the Dirac notation, Cat notations, and this is the Bragg notations indicated the color spinors for the different colors charge. And these colors charges spinor indicated the orthonormalized conditions given by these equations here. So keeping in mind the octonion operator, we may express the octonion resemblance of Glowing states. Glowing state indicated the U12 is equal to the R cat and the zebra. So here we have the two different colors charts indicated a Glowing state in the strong interactions. So these are the 8 gluons in a strong interactions. So the 6 octonion gluonic states, I mean the U12, U12 bar star and so on, can interestingly be utilized to convert the color charge state using the following operations. So these are the operation how we, the convert the color charge from one color quark to the another color quark. So we have the octonion shift operator, use this shift operator in this operation. So we get the how the color charge changes. So the rest of this the operator, I mean, it's called the Cartan states, Cartan operators do not act as a change of the color states as the operation are given in the question number 12 and the 13s. For more octonion-gluonic interactions, we have tables. Here we check that how the octonionic gluons interact. For example, if U12 gluon interact with U12 bar star, I mean the self-conjugate, octonion conjugate gluons, what we get? We get I11. It is a matrix elements. So similarly, in this table, we see that the interaction between two octonion gluons in a color quark have been given the novel interpretations. For example, all octonion gluons except U0 do not interact freely with each other. As the octonion gluon 1,2 does not interact with U12. Here we check U12 does not interact with the U12. The self-conjugate interactions between octonion gluons, such as the U12 bar star and the U12, and so on, leads to the glue wall formation. So, what is a glue wall? Glue wall is a colorless state. Octonion color confinement and the glue wall formations. So, let us consider that octonion quark wave function of any flavor quark consists of three different color states indicated by the chi C O. O indicated the octonion generally. C is the chromo charge. Chromo means color charge. Is equal to is a function of the red, green, and the blue. So octonion is not only in the, a wave function has the color. It also has a octonion is spatial functions and the spin part. So that means we have a final wave functions for the strong for the case of the strong interactions. So in the free octonion space, we can write the following conditions for a hadronic particles. This is the conditions for the color conformite. U naught O indicated the octonion case. So UO denotes the octonion's color operators in a hadronic states. And the chi C cat of the H indicated the hadronic particles. C indicated the colors charge, I mean the chromodynamic SU3 symmetry, and the chi indicated if its spinor functions. Okay, so to analyze the color conformant conditions in octonion color space, we can express the color value of the single quark state. It is chi CO corresponding to the octonion color state given in these tables. So this is the red, this is green quantity, and the blue. This 1 minus 1 0 indicated a color factor, I means. Okay. So here these are the color factor of the anti colors, and this is the colors. And the value of
Hello, Rupesh ji, please follow time limit.
Okay.
Please conclude fast.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
So finally, if we check this table, it is worth noting that colors charge are always conjugate, and they might as well not have simultaneously eigenfunctions or the eigenvalue because they do not commute with each other except the U0 and the U3. So that's why we choose the U3 equal to U0 equal to 0 for the hadrons. So if we choose this, so we get this color wave function for the baryonic case, and where the eta 1, eta 2, eta 3 to eta 6 indicated the color factor is a constants. So for a baryonic particle, the octonion conformant conditions become equation number 6. So in final, we obtain the following completely antisymmetric wave function for a baryon particles with unit color factors in case of the octonion color pair given in equation number 17. And for case of a glue walls, from the above analysis, we can establish the possibility of the glue ball states can indicate it G by the interaction of the self-conjugated octonion gluonic states given in equation number 18. So we have the 8 different combinations for a glue ball states. So glue ball generally a colorless state for the particles. So this is the conclusions. The octonion color charge algebra provides a fundamental representation of SU3 color symmetry. As a result, the 8 octonion gluons have been elaborated to analyze the quark-gluon interactions, whereas the 6 octonion gluonic states are more crucial to change the color charge states, while the rest 2 gluons, I mean called the Cartan states, does not work to change the color states. The condition of the octonion's quark conformant and the glue wall formation has been investigated, and it has been concluded that octonion glue ball exists with the bound state of self-interacted gluons that remains colorless or neutrals. We have discussed that the colorless octonion state, only 8 combinations are possible to form it in the glue balls. So this is all about the conclusion. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bhupesh. Any questions from audience? If you'd like to ask anything about this work, Dr. Anupam.
Yeah. Sir, I have one question. What is Pauli's principle?
Yes, sir. Sir, Pauli principle means if we have a 2 fermions, so the spin of the 2 fermions are not same. If one is spin up, so second will be spin down. So the quantum numbers, we have the 4 quantum numbers. So in a fermionic case, the quantum numbers are not same for any 2 particles.
Okay. Can you say some applications of your octonion glue जो भी है इसका कुछ applications आप बतलाएंगे?
सर इसके एप्लीकेशन बहुत सारे हैं, जैसे we have used octonions for the electrodynamics, for the gravitational field, electromagnetic field, strong field, and different it case. तो if you have the 8 dimensions, क्योंकि सर एक्चुअल में क्या रहता है कि जो फिजिकल थ्योरी है वो अब डायमेंशन इंक्रीज कर रहे हैं. इफ वी चूज द एम थ्योरी, इट इज स्ट्रिंग थ्योरी. तो अगर हम डायमेंशन इंक्रीज करें तो स्ट्रिंग थ्योरी इज 10 डायमेंशनल. तो ऑक्टेनियन हैज ओनली द 8 डायमेंशन. तो कहीं ना कहीं ऑक्टेनियन को हम रिलेट कर सकते हैं उस एम थ्योरी से, स्ट्रिंग थ्योरी से, जो कि आजकल काफी पॉपुलर थ्योरी है.
जी, ओके, थैंक यू.
थैंक यू भूपेश जी. आप सुन पा रहे हैं मुझे?
जी सर, जी.
Bhupesh ji, this work you showed, it's kind of abstract and also suggested few applications as well. So
Yes.
do you have any plans in your mind to implement this thing in whatever application areas you have suggested in your future work?
सर एक्सपेरिमेंटली तो मैं नहीं बता सकता बिकॉज आई एम ए थ्योरेटिस्ट, बट मैं आपको ये बता सकता हूँ कि इसका एप्लीकेशंस और फ्यूचर प्लानिंग के लिए क्योंकि जब हम फंडामेंटल इंटरेक्शन की बात करते हैं या फंडामेंटल फोर्सेस की बात करते हैं, सो वी हैव एटलीस्ट 8 डायमेंशंस, और विदाउट 8 डायमेंशन हम इस फंडामेंटल इंटरेक्शन को यूनिफाई नहीं कर सकते हैं. सो द बिग प्रॉब्लम इन दिस यूनिवर्स इज द यूनिफिकेशन ऑफ द ऑल फंडामेंटल फोर्सेस. तो वहां पर सर ऑक्टेनियन का बहुत यूज हो सकता है.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bhupesh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for giving me this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now P76, Mr. Debraj Roy from Birch Institute of Technology, and his title of presentation is Discussions on Semi-Reversibility and its one subclass as Generalizations of Reversible Rings. Mr. Debraj, are you there?
Yes. Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, I
Yeah.
can hear you. Rest of
Okay.
also.
Thank you, sir.
Please,
Thank you,
please
sir.
share your slides and please finish within 10 minutes.
Okay.
Sorry, sir.
Yes.
12 minutes.
Wait, just hold on. Allow me. Wait, just hold on. There is a trouble going on. Sir, I'm sorry. There is some trouble got in my laptop. I can't seem to share this.
Can we recall you and till then we can start with another presentation? I will get
Okay.
back to you again. Okay,
Okay. Okay. Please. I'm sorry for this.
it's not a problem. So, Mr. Krishna Kumar Pandey from United College of Engineering and Research, Prayagraj. Mr. Krishna, are you there?
Sir, good morning.
Okay. So your title of presentation is Comparative Study of IC, FOPI, WA, and Chaotic
Yes,
WA technique
yes, sir.
for
Actually,
improving
I'm also unable
MPPT
to
performance.
right now.
You can
Should I
start your
present
presentation. You
after
have
half
got
an
12
hour?
minutes. Uh, are you not ready with your slides?
Should I present after half an hour?
Okay, I can go with the another presenter. P35, Madhusmita Chand from NIT Jamshedpur. Qualitative sign stability
Yes,
of
sir.
matrix pair. Madhusmita, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Uh, if you are ready, you can start your presentation.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Is it visual?
Am I audible?
Yeah. It's visual. Start
What's
your
the
presentation.
Is it visible?
Yeah, it's visual. Please start your presentation.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. Myself, Madhusmita Chan, Research Scholar of NIT Jamshedpur. And I am thankful to the organizing committee for accepting my abstract. The objective of this paper is to assess the instability of a matrix pair without any magnitude information, but with only the sign information of the matrix pair elements. So here some necessary and sufficient conditions are proposed, which are derived in terms of nature of interactions and interconnections borrowed from ecological principles. So let's start. Let's consider a linear homogeneous time invariant system EXDS equal to X, where X is the state vector function and ER n by n constant coefficient real matrices. This system is said to be stable if and only if the matrix pair EA is a stable matrix pair. So all of us know a matrix pair EA is said to be stable if all of its eigenvalues are negative real parts. So how to calculate the eigenvalues? First we have to determine the characteristic equation, determinant of lambda e minus a equal to 0, and then we have to find the characteristic roots of this equation. But this numerical eigenvalue calculation of this matrix pair of higher order is very computationally intensive effort. So to overcome this problem, the qualitative stability concept was proposed. Let's consider n by n matrix pair and this structure. Here, for simplicity, I'm giving a 4 by 4 matrix pair. Here, the A11, A22, A33, A44, and E11, E22, E33, E44, these are the diagonal elements, and the rest of are the off diagonal elements. If we consider the structure, then we can denote the off diagonal elements as links, such that A12, A21, these are some interactions. We'll further discuss it elaborately. In the matrix pair, all the entries can be specified with particular letter. That means P for positive sign, N for negative sign, and 0 for the zero entry. From stability point of view, we can treat elemental positive and zero sign as bad sign and elemental negative sign as good sign. In this matrix pair, we have diagonal elements, interactions of the form Aij, Aj, Eij, Ej, then interactions of the form Aij, Aj, Aij, Ej, and the next term is interconnection term. So these four are the parts of the matrix pair. Then the links, that means the off-diagonal links or interactions. We can categorize these in some parts. Let's consider PP and NN links as same sign links, EN and NP links as opposite sign links, N0, 0 and P0, 0P links as 0 sign links and 0, 0 links. So let's start with the diagonal elements. All of us know n by n matrix pair has 2n number of diagonal elements, and let's denote the number of positive diagonal elements as NP, number of zero diagonal elements as NJ, number of negative diagonal elements as NG. So number of total non-negative diagonal elements is equal to NP plus NJ. Let's define eta Pj and eta Ng by a fraction. So let's denote eta Pz is equal to Npz upon 2n and eta Ng is equal to Nng upon 2n. Clearly you can see that eta Pz plus eta Ng is equal to 1. Similarly, let's discuss the next term, interactions. Interactions of the form Aij, Aj and Eij, Ej. All the products of off-diagonal elements of the form Eij, Ej, that means connecting only two distinct nodes of matrix E are known as the interactions of the form Eij, Ej. And similarly, all the products of off-diagonal elements of the form Aij, Aj connecting only two distinct nodes of matrix A are known as interactions of the form Aij, Aj. Here let's denote the total number of active links as NTL and total number of active links as NLC. From stability point of view, we are considering same sign links and Z sign links as bad links and opposite sign links as good links. So let's denote N good is equal to NOS and N bad is equal to NS plus NZS plus NEZZ. And similarly, we can denote eta bad and eta good, and we can see that the sum of these two is equal to 1. Then interactions of the form Aij and Ej. All the products of diagonal elements of the form Eij, Aj means connecting one node of matrix E and the corresponding node of the matrix A are known as interactions of the matrix pair Ea. Here, similarly, we can denote all the links, and we can define eta bad dash and eta good dash, and their sum is equal to 1. Then let's define the index zeta good, zeta bad, and zeta net. Here zeta bad is potentially destabilizing sign matrix pair index, and zeta bad is potentially stabilizing sign matrix pair index. And zeta net is the net matrix pair stabilization index, which is given by zeta good minus zeta bad. Zeta net is also an index to indicate the likelihood of matrix pair being stable or unstable in a qualitative way. There are some, another index which is chain. Chain means the elemental structure of the form Eij, Ej, Aj. The product of this form is called chain. If the chain contains at least 3 positive signs, then it is known as plus chain. And if the chain contains at least 3 minus chains, then it is minus chain. These are some indices that we will use in the derivation of necessary and sufficient conditions. So let's start the conditions. For further study, we will consider only the mixture of positive and negative diagonal elements, and assume that n bad is equal to NSS and n good dash is equal to NSS dash. First, we will see the necessary conditions for qualitative sign stable matrix pair. Let's consider a matrix pair Ea with entries Eij, Aj respectively. Then we have 2 important necessary conditions. The first one is all the interconnection terms must be 0, and the second one is the matrix A must be non-singular. Here, the first condition C1 is the necessarily required condition for qualitative sign stability. That means the condition which makes the matrix pair stable independent of magnitude. And the second condition is necessarily required for the stability of any matrix pair A. Because if determinant of A is 0, then it has always at least one zero eigenvalue that make the matrix pair unstable. So this condition is necessarily required for the stability of the matrix pair EA, independent of any qualitative or quantitative information of the matrix pair elements. Then determinate, as I said, determinate serves as an index to indicate the likelihood of matrix pair being stable or unstable in a qualitative way. The larger it is negative, more likely that matrix pair is going to be unstable, and similarly, the more positive it is, more likely that matrix pair is going to be stable. So here are some conditions. The value of zeta net varies in the interval -3 to 3. And if the value of zeta net is negative, that means the matrix pair is MDU. That is, there always exists magnitude that makes the matrix pair unstable. And if the value of zeta net is non-negative, that means it is an MDS matrix pair, and there always exist magnitudes that make this matrix pair stable. And the most necessary condition for the instability of matrix pair is the value of zeta net varies from -3 to 0. Now we are going to derive some necessary conditions required for qualitative sign instability. As I said, for instability, we have the necessary condition zeta net negative. So by going through the derivation, we can find this. And if you consider it Ng minus half into NLC as Nu star, then we will get a necessary condition. That is, let's consider Nu star is equal to the closest higher upper integer of eta Ng minus half times NLC, including when that is itself an integer. So the necessary condition will be a matrix pair is qualitative sign unstable only if Nu star less than equal to N bar minus N good dash. While observing this expression for determinant of a matrix pair, we find that the diagonal element is always multiplied by the link element surrounded by it. That means the row and column elements associated with the diagonal element become important contributors to the stability or instability. So, with this observation, we have some guidelines for sufficiency of qualitative and instability. The first guideline is if a matrix pair with zeta net negative is likely qualitative unstable if a positive diagonal element is surrounded by plus 10. And the next one is if a matrix pair with zeta net negative, it's said to be qualitative sign unstable if a negative diagonal element is surrounded by negative 10. By now, we have few necessary conditions for qualitative sign instability and few guidelines for sufficiency for qualitative sign instability. So, if once the necessary condition zeta net is negative is satisfied, we can make a qualitative sign unstable matrix pair with the appropriate placement of the bad and good links in it. So, let's consider some examples. Here we have given the diagonal elemental structure.
Madhusmita,
Yes, sir.
can you summarize? You have already taken enough.
Yes, sir. Just 2 minutes.
Please.
Okay, sir. Here we have some diagonal elemental structure. We can easily calculate the number of diagonal elements, positive and negative diagonal elements. And with this condition, we can see that here it is the necessarily required condition. If any matrix pair with this condition satisfied, then we can say that it is an MDU matrix pair. That means unstable matrix pair. In this example, we have the same diagonal elemental structure and we are placing some good and bad links in it so that it will be a qualitative sign unstable matrix pair. In this example, we have zeta net negative. Sorry, zeta net positive. That means it is an MDS matrix pair, and here the C1 condition That means the interconnection terms are non-zero. So the C1 condition is not satisfied. That means this is a non-QLS matrix pair. Now I am going to conclude. The proposed necessary and sufficient conditions are very simple and are based on the number and nature of the diagonal elements and the octagonal element pairs. This reflects the elemental sign structure of a matrix pair, play a very vital role for assessing its stability or instability. These are some references. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhusmita. Any
Thank you,
questions?
sir.
Any question from audience? So, Madhumita, I have only one question. I just
Yes,
want to
sir.
know what is homogeneous time invariant system? Means how we can define this? What is this? Madhumita?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Homogeneous time invariant system. I just want to know what is this? Can you please explain something? Okay. ओके ये जो आपने यहाँ पे डायगोनल एलिमेंट्स इंटरेक्शंस ये सब जो है ये आपने खुद का कैलकुलेशन है यहाँ पे से आपने जो भी लिया है डायगोनल एलिमेंट्स इंटरेक्शंस ये आपका खुद का पेपर है जो आपने-
Sir, I have referred on previous paper and so that paper was about the matrix and I have read, I have discussed here the matrix pair.
ओके 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 थैंक यू
Okay, sir, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any question. We can-
Madhusmita, I have one question.
Please, please.
So is it a general method to check the stability of each matrix pair, or is it restricted to somewhere?
No, sir, there is no restriction.
No,
You
no.
can
So
check
can
any
you?
matrix
So
pair.
my question is, can you check the stability of matrix pair for any pair of matrix or not?
Yes, sir.
Is okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Madhusmita. Now I'll call the next author, Mr. Jainul Abdeen from Aligarh Muslim University, numerical
Morning,
linear
sir.
algebra.
Excuse me, sir. Hello. Hello.
हाँ हेलो
Devraj,
Hello.
Mr. Devraj, I'll get back to you. Please be patient. Jainul Abdeen, are you there? Okay, he is not here. Mr. Devraj, are you ready for with your slides now?
Yes, sir. I'm actually ready. I'm sharing my screen. Can you please confirm if my screen
Please
share
share.
is?
Please.
Is my? Can you guys see my screen?
नो
Yes, it is coming. Yes.
या
Okay. So tell me, sir, when I can start, sir.
Yes, you can start. Just open
Okay.
your PowerPoint presentation. You can start.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. I'm really sorry for the little bit technical mess up, little bit before. Of course, I thank you very much for this opportunity. As you can see, my title, the title of my talk is Discussions on Semi-Reversibility, and it's one subclass as generalization of reversible rings. So
Mr.
basically, you
Devraj,
can Yes.
Mr. Devraj,
Oh.
we cannot see your PPT. At least I'm not able to see.
या
Yes. Your
The
screen is
PDF
visible,
file.
but not
Your
the
screen
PPT.
is visible, but please open the PPT because we can see a folder with 4 PDFs.
Okay.
Can you just open the PPT?
Yes, it just opened now. Actually, I'm totally open. My screen is totally this presentation.
But unfortunately, I cannot see.
Sir,
This
can you see
conference
now?
schedule, there are 4 PDF files we can see.
यस
Okay.
Which one of
Yep.
this is a PPT? If this one is, please open it. Yes.
Okay. Can you see now?
नो
No. Did you share your complete screen, or
Yes.
are you sharing any particular folder?
Correct.
Just share your complete screen.
Okay. Your entire screen.
Yes, choose the option your entire screen.
Okay. Is it visible now?
Yeah.
Yes. Now it is visible. You can
Is it
start.
visible now, sir?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I'm really sorry for this confusion. Okay. So as you can see, the title of my talk is Discussions on Semi-Reversibility, and it's one subclass as generalization of reversible rings. Okay. So in this topic, basically, I will discuss one ring which is called semi-reversible, and I will discuss one more class of ring which will be strictly contained inside the class of semi-reversible ring. In our discussion, that ring will be actually called strongly semi-reversible ring. Basically, what I mean is that every strongly semi-reversible ring is a semi-reversible ring, but the converse is not true. And both of these rings, strongly semi-reversible rings and semi-reversible rings, they are actually strict generalization of the class of reversible rings. And generalized strictly contains means every reversible ring will be strongly semi-reversible, but the converse will not be true. I will get back to it very short. So as some preliminary idea, a ring is called reversible. As we know the definition, if we take any two elements satisfying AB equal to 0, this will imply BA equal to 0. Basically, reversible ring generally, as we consider, is as a generalization of commutative property. It means that reversible ring satisfies some important properties of commutative property, but reversible ring need not be a commutative ring, but it satisfies some consequential property of commutative rings. And obviously there are some existing generalized classes of reversible rings. One is called weakly reversible with this following definition, that for any three element ABR, and AB0 implies capital R BRA is a nil left ideal. Nil left ideal means RBRA is a left ideal, and every element of this ideal is a nilpotent element. There is for central reversible J reversible, it means that AB0 implies BA belongs to ZR. ZR means the center of a ring, the collection of all elements which commutes every other element of the ring R. And J reversible means AB0 implies BA will be an element of the Jacobson radical of the reversible ring. Actually, ring. Okay. So let's go through the definition. What we will be dealing in our definition is every ring semi-reversible. It will be called semi-reversible ring if for any element, any two element AB, AB0 will imply there exists a positive integer n such that b to the power na equal to 0. And the definition of strongly semi-reversible, what we are dealing with, that for every two elements from R, AB0 will imply there exists a positive integer n such that bn not equal to 0 and b to the power na is equal to 0. Before I go into discuss, let me just short why I was doing this work during my PhD. If you can see all the previous ring, you see this central reversible ring, J reversible ring, or there are many other in this area. Most of the generalization are done using either a subring of the ring, either prime radical or the center of the ring, or the nilpotent radical, or the Jacobson radical. So I wanted to do a little bit different here. I wanted to do a ring without involving any subring of the ring. I wanted to generalize something involving the power of an element. Then I got the idea and I did it, of course with the help of my supervisor. So let's do the first result is that, as I said, that this strongly semi-reversible and semi-reversible property is that reversible strictly implies to be strongly semi-reversible, and strongly semi-reversible strictly implies to be semi-reversible. So these are the example. This is an example of a strongly semi-reversible ring which is not reversible. As our target is to show the class of strongly semi-reversible strictly contains the class of reversible ring. If we have this ring, this polynomial ring over Z2 and with a quotient ring with the particular ideal of this format, the ideal generated by xy, y square x, xy, x square. Obviously, the xy does not commute with each other. then this ring actually becomes a strongly semi-reversible ring, but not reversible. It's a quite a long proof. I don't have time to explain. And then we also need an example of a semi-reversible ring which is not strongly semi-reversible. And if we use this ring S3R, S3R means it's actually all the 3 cross 3 order upper triangular matrix whose diagonal entries are fixed. Okay. So now the first thing what we did, that what is the relationship between this semi-reversible or strongly semi-reversible ring between all the already existing classes of reversible ring. So to answer this question, we got this following results, that a central reversible ring is semi-reversible, a semi-reversible ring is weakly reversible. That means a semi-reversible ring actually somehow lies between central reversible and weakly reversible, and as a corollary to the second theorem, strongly semi-reversible becomes weakly reversible, because as we know, every strongly semi-reversible is semi-reversible. And then apart from other than relationship between the other existing classes of reversible ring, we also work with the relationship between some other important rings. There is one ring called abelian ring. It means ER subset of JR. ER means the set of all idempotent elements are central element. So semi-reversible ring actually implies to be abelian, and of course we got one result, that strongly semi-reversible ring is abelian ring. The first part of this theorem as a corollary to the previous theorem, of course, and we also got one extra result, that strongly semi-reversible ring implies to be an NCI ring. NCI ring means the either NR equal to 0. NR means the collection of all nilpotent elements. NR is equal to 0, or there exists a non-zero ideal which will be contained inside the set of all nilpotent elements. Unfortunately, we could not find the semi-reversible implying NCI. We could not prove it. And then let's do some example. Why this example? Like I just said, something implies to be something, something implies to be something. So what if the converse? Is the converse true or not? To answer these particular questions, we have some example, that if we consider this ring S4R, that means all the 4 cross 4 upper triangular matrices such that the diagonal entries are fixed. This is actually a semi-reversible ring, but not central reversible. We proved central reversible implies, but the converse is not true. Similarly, if we take this ring T2R, T2R means all the 2 cross 2 upper triangular matrices on the real number. Then this ring actually becomes an example of a weakly reversible, but this is actually not semi-reversible. And once again, this is also becomes an example of an NCI ring which is not strongly semi-reversible. And then we get this one more example, as we said previously, the semi-reversible implies to be abelian, but the converse is not true. If we take all the set of matrices of this format, whose first and the fourth element, the difference is divisible by 2, and the second and the third, second element of the first row and the first element of the second row, they are divisible by 2, even numbers. If we format this ring in a collection of matrices with this format, this is actually becomes an abelian ring, but not semi-reversible. And the last example in this particular section we have, that if we have this ring R such that collection of all these elements with the integer coefficient a0 plus a1x, a2y plus a3z, with the component wise addition and a particular format of multiplication, the multiplication like this, if we take a1, a0, a1x, a2y, a3z, and similarly b0, b1x, and so on, the multiplication if we define like this, a0, b0, x coefficient would be a0, b1 plus a1, b0, y coordinates would be a2, b0 plus a2, a1, b2 plus a2, b0, and z coordinates would be a2, b3 plus a3, b0 plus a1, b2. Then this is actually a central reversible, but not strongly semi-reversible thing. Now, after the relationship with some property, we have some general property like subring. So we can prove the subring of a semi-reversible ring is semi-reversible. Same thing holds true for strongly semi-reversible too. We also prove a finite subdirect product of semi-reversible rings is semi-reversible. We could not get the result of arbitrary case, and the same result holds true for strongly semi-reversible also. And then we actually found some result with respect to the quotient ring property. That means suppose if we have R by I be an ideal, R by I is I by R is semi-reversible. So what property the ideal should possess so that the ring becomes semi-reversible? To answer this question, if I is a reduced ideal, we get our desired result. Reduced ideal means every element of this ideal is a reduced ideal means this ideal has any non-zero nilpotent element. And similarly, we get the same result for strongly semi-reversible also. Now let's start with some extension property. Extension property means we have a semi-reversible or strongly semi-reversible ring. Now from a semi-reversible, strongly semi-reversible ring, we will generate some new classes of semi-reversible or strongly semi-reversible ring. So we want to discuss what happens in the case of ring of fraction. That means we need to find capital S, a multiplicatively closed subset with a particular property such that the ring of fraction S inverse R becomes semi-reversible, and the desired property is if S be a multiplicatively closed subset containing central regular element. It actually means the central non-zero divisors. And the same exact result actually holds true in case of strongly semi-reversible also. Now the next property, next result extension, we got the Doro extension. It means it is actually with respect to a ring and the ring of integers. We set this new ring drz with the component-wide addition, and the multiplication is this way, that r1 s1 into r2 s2 equal to, the first coordinate would be r1 r2 plus s1 r2 plus s2 r1 into s1 s2. r1 r2 from r, s1 s2 from ring of integers. Then we actually found this result that if r is semi-reversible, it is if and only if the Doro extension with respect to z, it is semi-reversible. The same result we have for strongly semi-reversible also. Now we want to find the questions that if R is a semi-reversible, what happens with some different format of matrix? What happened with the matrix ring formatting with a semi-reversible ring is actually semi-reversible or not? Now to answer this, we actually needed this particular element, this particular lemma. Why this particular lemma? It is actually that if we calculate all those matrix to the power n, like if we have two matrix A, B, and we have to calculate B to the power n to be 0, then what happens to the element of those particular matrix? Now those elements of those B to the power n into A, those format of matrix, the element sort of looks like this. So to make our calculation easier in our paper, with a better representation and easier to understand, we actually form this lemma. So it goes like this: if R is a semi-reversible ring and we have three elements AB, any arbitrary elements with AB 0, then if we have an element C such that it satisfies like this, AB plus CB equal to 0 for some D, then there exists a positive integer such that this particular format of element, summation I greater equal to 0, j greater equal to 0, ij plus j equal to n to the power summation bi r b to the power j into c becomes equal to 0 for any positive integer n greater equal to k. And as a corollary, we found that if we have for a semi-reversible ring AB or any three arbitrary element, AB0 implies there exists a particular n such that BIRB is a particular case. This C of the lemma can be replaced by this element A actually. And then one more lemma, one particular format of element, we have this lemma that if R is a semi-reversible ring and in arbitrary elements AB R1 R2 with AB 0, then this particular format of element, I'm not going to read it out. So it is summation p to the power 0, p to the power t, b to the power t, p into t minus p into this particular format. All these elements actually become 0 for any integer t greater or equal to k. Now let's get to the final result. What is the finding we have? Is that if we have this trivial extension TRR, it means all the elements of this format, that 2 cross 2 matrix 2 cross 2 on R, such that the diagonal entries are fixed, then we get it. The R is semi-reversible is if and only if necessary sufficient condition for this. Similarly, we got this result for S3R2. S3R means the 3 cross 3 order on R, 3 cross 3 order upper triangular matrices on R such that diagonal entries are fixed. We got the result with this format of matrices also. Now you may ask what happens with strongly semi-reversible. Actually, I did not include the result. We actually proved for strongly semi-reversible ring, none of the matrix ring becomes a strongly semi-reversible. So that's why I avoided that result. And the last result in extension property is called it doesn't have a name. I call it as RAB extension. That if we have a ring A with identity and B is a subring with same identity of A, this RAB, if we denote this, the set of all infinite coordinated elements, such that after a finite number of stages, all the entries are fixed, and those are from the ring B, and up to 1 to n, that elements are from A. So with this ring, we actually had this result that if A is semi-reversible, then it becomes if and only if with RAB is semi-reversible. The same exact result holds true for the semi-reversible property also. Now this is the last portion of my presentation, as that after the relationship with some rings and extension property, we found some other property. We have 3 parts in this. One is called clean exchange property. So a ring is called clean ring if every element can be written as a summation of an unit element and an idempotent element. And every ring is a ring is called exchange is every element we get an idempotent element E such that E will belongs to RA and 1 minus E will belong to R into 1 minus A. Now the result is, which is well-known result, that clean ring implies exchange ring, but the converse is not true. So what we try to answer here, that if we add semi-reversible property with exchange property, if we get the clean ring or not, and the answer is yes. If we assume if we add semi-reversible property with exchange property, the ring actually becomes clean, and as a corollary to this exact result holds true for strongly semi-reversible ring. Now the next result, we studied the idea of regular property. The format is actually the same. We have 3 rings we discuss here: strongly regular, von Neumann regular, left, right, SF. Strongly regular means for every element there exists B such that A can be written as A square B. Von Neumann regular is for every element A there exists B such that A equal to A, and left, right, SF is every set modules are flat. Every simple left, right modules are.
Can you summarize?
Yeah, within 2 minutes, sir. I promise.
Please.
So what is the existing result? We know that strongly regular implies regular, von Neumann regular implies right SF. So converse is not true. This is no. So we try to prove the converse. If we add the semi-reversible property with left SF, whether it becomes strongly regular or not, and the result is actually true. If the semi-reversible, the strongly regular, left SF, right SF, they actually all becomes equivalent. As a corollary to this same result holds true for strongly semi-reversible. And then we get one result with the strongly semi-reversible with domain property, that if we add prime property that ARB0, AB00, then this implies it is to be domain. And the final property what we discuss, what I said, that my discussion strongly semi-reversible or reverse semi-reversible, they are strict generalization of reversible property. So last attempt of the result is, what if we add some property with semi-reversible and we get back to the original property reversible? And to find out this, that if R as a semi-reversible, and if we add all these properties, semi-primitive JR is Jacobson radical is 0, every simple singular left arm module is W nil injective, every simple singular right arm module W nil injective, and every maximal essential left ideal is W nil injective. If all these 4 properties are added to semi-reversible, the ring actually becomes a reduced ring, which means that the NR is 0. The ring does not have any non-zero nilpotent element. It is a known result that reduced is implies to be reversible. So as a corollary to this result, we get our reversible result. And our final property, the same thing what we did with strongly semi-reversible property. We got it semi-prime. The semi-prime is for any left-right ideal. A to the power n0 implies A0. And this same, all these properties, simple singular left arm module and right arm module is W injective. Every maximum essential left ideal and maximum right ideal is W injective. All this property, if we add with strongly semi-reversible ring, this actually becomes reduced, which means as a corollary, a strongly semi-reversible ring added with this property becomes reversible ring. And these are some references. The first 4 actually the paper of all the existing classes of reversible ring, and the 5 and 6 paper is actually the papers. These 2 works are already published: semi-reversible and generalization of reversible rings. And thank you very much.
So, any query from audience? Any question from audience? Anupam sir?
No, I don't have query because it's not my area. Yeah, if the participants are interested, they can ask the query.
Yeah. I think no questions from anyone. Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Next one is Krishna Kumar Pandey, paper 33. Krishna Kumar Pandey, are you ready? And then paper 82, Janual Abdeen.
Janaluddin is absent,
Okay. And
and only one is left. I just closed that PDF.
By clicking on
And-
arrow.
paper 24, Tejaswini.
Sir, myself, Krish Kumar Pandey.
Okay. So, Krishna Kumar.
Krishna Kumar Pandey ji, are you ready?
Okay, yes, sir.
Please share your slides and you can start immediately.
Yeah, sure. Kindly wait a minute, sir. Is it visible, sir? Yeah, I have shared my entire screen. Before
Not yet.
presenting.
It's not visible.
Okay. Actually, system is hanged out right now.
If you want, you can email the PDF of your presentation to one of the organizers. Then we can play it for you.
Okay, sir.
It's shared now. Good.
Yes, we can see it. Just put it in a slideshow mode.
Okay, sir. Good morning, everyone. I am Krish Kumar Pandey, and I am presenting the presentation on the topic comparative
Mr.
study
Krishna
of the
Kumar,
MPPT.
Mr. Krishna Kumar,
Yes, sir.
we just lost your slides. Yes, now it is visible. Can you put it in slideshow mode,
Yeah, sure, sir.
please? Okay.
So I am presenting the topic comparative study of incremental conductance, fractional order, particular integral wheel optimization algorithm, and chaotic wheel optimization algorithm. Basically, it is used in the MPPT technology to improve its performance. And I have considered here the different solar radiation and for the same temperature. So my topics which will I present, that is the introduction, then solar PV system, some basic concept of MPPT, maximum power point tracking, then wheel optimization algorithm, and my model which I have already prepared on the MATLAB, and some the result for the different results in both cases. So we all know that in today's scenario, the renewable energy resources, it is definitely become popular for fulfilling the electricity demand. because in traditional way the electricity is basically generated with the help of coal, hydro type power plant, nuclear type power plant, but these resources are generally limited in nature. So government also wished that the users it will use the electricity which is generated by the renewable energy resources, and there are lot of resources which are generally present, like the sun, solar radiated energy, air, fossil fuels, etc. Wind, tides, government, geothermal energy, solar radiation, etc. So, in all above resources, the solar energy has grown in popularity because it is really too much available, as well as the too much green energy. Okay. And availability is all around over the world. Now, the one component that is known as the photovoltaic cell, it is basically converted the solar radiated energy into electrical energy. It taken the photon energy which is radiated out from the solar, which also consists the heat, and definitely the semiconducting panels. These are converted into into electricity energy. Now the layout of PV cells, it is has aroused fascinate in investigating around the globe because it is definitely very advantageous. But the two major problems in this field, that the lack of proper vision for the separation of solar cells, that how should it be connected in series or shunt, because the electricity demand for the different load is basically on different level of voltages, and all the loads demanding the different power also. So the generating station must have to fulfill the loads demand according to their. So the situation affects the performance of photovoltaic module, because while we are going to design the array of PV cell, then how many numbers of PV cells must be connected in series or in parallel? These are the basically problem. And we also know that the efficiency in nowadays of the solar cell efficiency is not too much high. It is around 20 to 25%. So that is also creating a.
Mr. Krishna Kumar,
Yes, sir.
sorry to interrupt you. Can you go to that your model because you have used an optimization algorithm, so you must be optimizing some function or some data. So can you
Right.
directly go to that slide? I'm more interested in that.
Okay. Sir, this one. Here I am
Yeah.
using a Canadian Solar CS 5T130 40 module string where the 98 parallel strings. This is basically
So
the
where in this model where you have used this whale optimization algorithm?
yeah, I have basically used my whale optimization algorithm in the MPPT controller.
MPPT, what is its role there?
Excuse me, sir.
उसका यहाँ वहां पे काम क्या है उसका जो आपकी
MPPT.
स्कीम है?
Okay, MPPT controller is basically used to control the performance of this DC to DC boost converter. Basically, the power generated by the solar array is now provided to the load, but there are definitely so many ways. And the generated voltage is very low. We have to improve that voltage, for which we use the DC to DC boost converter, also known as a chopper. But while we are converting it, DC to DC boost converter is basically a power electronic controller which use the various semiconducting devices, and the performance of those semiconducting devices is definitely not the ideal, but we always try to achieve the ideal conditions, which basically decide the performance of that one.
Mr. Krishna Kumar, actually, what I was more interested, you are explaining the role of what this MPPT controller does. Okay, it has, you know it very well. What I'm asking, you have used this optimization algorithm. So, what is that the role of that optimization algorithm in this MPPT controller. MPPT controller has its vast role, that is fine, that is separate. बट जो आपने ऑप्टिमाइजेशन एल्गोरिदम यूज की है उसका यहाँ पे क्या काम है, ये मैं पूछना चाह रहा हूँ।
अच्छा सर, अगर हम परफॉर्मेंस की बात करें तो यहाँ पे हम राइज टाइम, कंट्रोलिंग टाइम, ठीक, ये जैसे कि
नहीं,
सेटलिंग टाइम।
परफॉर्मेंस नहीं पूछ रहा था मैं। परफॉर्मेंस तो तब की बात हुई ना जब आपने पूरा अपना एक्सपेरिमेंट कर लिया। व्हाट आई एम आस्किंग कि आपकी पीछे की स्लाइड्स में डब्ल्यू वेल ऑप्टिमाइजेशन एल्गोरिदम कुछ लिखा था आपने, तो
जी जी जी।
वो एल्गोरिदम यूज हुई तो किसी पर्पस से यूज हुई होगी ना।
हाँ, पर्पस सर हमारा यही है
वही
कि
पर्पस मैं जानना चाहता हूँ।
जी, परफॉर्मेंस को इम्प्रूव करने का ही सर हमारा पर्पज है, जैसे कि जो हमारे पास एग्जिस्टिंग सिस्टम है, ठीक।
ओके, तो परफॉर्मेंस कैसे, मतलब वो एल्गोरिदम परफॉर्मेंस कैसे इंप्रूव कर रही है?
परफॉर्मेंस सर जैसे इम्प्रूव करने का मतलब, एक सिंपल एग्जांपल अगर हम लोग देखें,
हाँ,
लाइक द ट्रांसमिशन ऑफ पावर की अगर सर हम बात करें, तो हम परफॉर्मेंस कब इम्प्रूव बोलेंगे, जब ट्रांसमिशन एफिशिएंसी हमारी हाई हो, ठीक। अगर एफिशिएंसी, तो एफिशिएंसी इज अ बेसिकली पैरामीटर, ठीक।
ठीक है।
बात करें
एफिशिएंसी का
वोल्टेज
कोई
की,
फॉर्मूला है इसमें, आपने कहीं स्लाइड में लिखा है?
सर यहाँ पे नहीं, एफिशिएंसी हम नहीं इम्प्रूव बेसिकली कर रहे हैं। परफॉर्मेंस पैरामीटर्स में सर यहाँ पे हमने जो लिया है, दैट इज द सेटलिंग टाइम, राइज टाइम एंड पीक ओवरशूट।
नहीं, मैं एक्चुअली आई एम नॉट गेटिंग व्हाट आई एम आस्किंग। मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि आपने ऑप्टिमाइजेशन एल्गोरिदम यूज की है तो कुछ ना कुछ आपने ऑप्टिमाइज किया होगा, इसीलिए वो यूज हुई है। एम आई राइट?
यस।
तो आपने क्या चीज ऑप्टिमाइज किया है, ये मैं बार बार आपसे पूछ रहा हूँ। वो पर्टिकुलर फीचर, पैरामीटर या वेरिएबल जो भी है, कुछ तो
ओके।
ऑप्टिमाइज हुआ होगा जिससे आपके ये रिजल्ट्स आए हैं। तो वो कौन सा फैक्टर था जिसे आपने ऑप्टिमाइज किया था?
अच्छा, जिन मतलब कि जैसे ऑप्टिमाइज का मतलब सर, आई थिंक आप ये समझ रहे हैं कि किसी चीज से हमने कंप्रोमाइज किया है।
नहीं, कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं। आप पीछे की
हाँ।
स्लाइड में जाएंगे थोड़ा, और पीछे जाइए, और पीछे। ये आप पूरा ये जो स्कीम दिखा रहे हो, और पीछे जाइए, और ये वेल ऑप्टिमाइजेशन एल्गोरिदम, इसी स्लाइड पे जाइए, वेल ऑप्टिमाइजेशन एल्गोरिदम। इसका क्या मतलब, व्हाट इज द रोल ऑफ दिस स्कीम, मतलब ये ओवरऑल क्या करती है अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस एप्लीकेशन, इसका ओवरऑल काम क्या है?
अच्छा, इसका सर अकॉर्डिंग टू मी, जैसे कि हमें ओवरऑल परफॉर्मेंस ही इम्प्रूव करना है। अब उसमें अगर हम बात
नहीं
करें कि
कृष्ण जी,
मैथमेटिकल
मैं
मॉडल्स जैसे
मैं
हमने
मैं क्या
प्रिपेयर
पूछ
किया
रहा हूँ,
है।
या तो मैं अपना मैसेज नहीं कन्वे कर पा रहा हूँ। मैं ये कह
नहीं
रहा हूँ कि
नहीं,
अभी
हाँ।
जो आपकी पावर ट्रांसमिशन की प्रॉब्लम है, इसको आप
सर
किनारे रख
पावर
दीजिए
ट्रांसमिशन
फॉर
मैंने एक
फॉर द टाइम
एग्जांपल
बीइंग।
लिया। सर पावर
वो
ट्रांसमिशन मैंने एक
एग्जाम्पल है, आई
एग्जांपल
आई
लिया।
आई अंडरस्टूड, दैट इज एन एग्जाम्पल। व्हाट आई एम
इसका
आस्किंग
स्थिति ध्यान दे
कि
रहा है
इन
जी।
जनरल ये जो वेल ऑप्टिमाइजेशन एल्गोरिदम है, इसका काम क्या है, व्हाट इट डज? पावर ट्रांसमिशन में कुछ किया होगा इसने, वो मैं अभी नहीं
नहीं
इंटरेस्टेड हूँ। व्हाट आई एम
जी।
आस्किंग कि इस एल्गोरिदम का काम क्या है? आपने यूज किया तो आपको पता होगा।
हाँ सर, जैसे कि हमने डीसी टू डीसी बूस्ट कन्वर्टर की हम बात करते हैं, जो हमारा यूज हुआ है डीसी टू डीसी बूस्ट कन्वर्टर में ही हुआ है, ठीक। वहां पे सर एक टर्म हमारा आता है टी ऑन एंड टी ऑफ टाइम, टर्निंग ऑन, जैसे कि किसी सेमी कंडक्टिंग डिवाइस को हम कितने टाइम के लिए ऑन कर रहे हैं, कितने टाइम के लिए ऑफ कर रहे हैं,
हम्म।
ठीक। इस स्पेसिफिक को कंट्रोल करना, एंड कितनी फास्ट हमारा परफॉर्मेंस दे रहा है, कितनी फास्ट ये टर्न ऑन एंड टर्न ऑफ कर रहा है, ठीक। ये चीज बेसिकली सर ऑप्टिमाइज किया गया है हमारा।
तो वो उसका कैसा फंक्शन है, मतलब ऑप्टिमाइज किया है तो कोई फंक्शन होगा, एफ एक्स इक्वल्स टू एक्स स्क्वायर है। इसको ऑप्टिमाइज
जी
करके आप इसका कुछ मैक्सिमम मिनिमा निकाल सकते हो। तो जब आपने
जी
ये
जी जी।
स्कीम लगाई होगी तो कोई फंक्शन ऑप्टिमाइज किया होगा ना, वो
हाँ,
फंक्शन है आपके
जब
पास अभी?
सर पीपीटी में तो नहीं अवेलेबल है मेरे पास, अगर हम
आप
इसको,
वैसे बता दीजिए।
ठीक है, एक सेकंड सर। जैसे ये सर हमारे पास तीनों फंक्शन है, मैथमेटिकल मॉडल ऑफ दिस वन, ठीक।
ठीक ठीक है।
हाँ, तो
इसमें
इनसर्कलिंग
कौन सा ये तो आपके रिलेशंस हैं, इसमें कौन सा टर्म आप ऑप्टिमाइज कर रहे हैं?
अच्छा, इसमें सर हमारा, जैसे कि अगर
ये
हम
तो
इसके
व्हाट आई सी कि ये तो आपका वेल ऑप्टिमाइजेशन एल्गोरिदम का ही के क्या बोलते हैं, इक्वेशंस हैं। एम आई
हाँ,
राइट?
मॉडलिंग ऑफ द ये डब्ल्यू ओ ए।
नहीं, WA पे तो आपका काम नहीं है ना, आपने तो WA को यूज किया है
जी
ऑप्टिमाइजेशन
जी
के लिए।
हाँ।
आप इस पेपर में है कहीं कोई इक्वेशन जिसको आपने ऑप्टिमाइज किया हो इन इक्वेशंस की हेल्प से?
अच्छा नहीं सर, इस इक्वेशंस में नहीं है। अगर हम अपना मॉडल का ये ओपन करने की कोशिश करें सर, बट इट विल टेक टू मच टाइम। वेट सर।
किस में इम्प्लीमेंट किया आपने, मैटलैब में?
जी जी जी
मैटलैब में किया, ठीक है, वो मत ओपन कीजिए, इट्स फाइन।
हाँ
बट व्हाट इज आपका काम ये अच्छा होगा, बट व्हाट इज माय फंडामेंटल क्वेरी कि व्हेन यू आर यूजिंग एनी स्कीम और एनी मेथड, यू शुड बी एबल टू नो कि वो स्कीम या मेथड पर्टिकुलरली किस पोर्शन को एड्रेस कर रही है, किस चीज को ऑप्टिमाइज कर रही है। रीजन व्हाई आई एम आस्किंग दिस थिंग, क्योंकि आई वाज इंटरेस्टेड इन नोइंग कि जो फंक्शन या इक्वेशन आप ऑप्टिमाइज कर रहे हैं उसका नेचर क्या है, लीनियर है नॉन लीनियर है। अगर वो
सर
लीनियर इक्वेशन हुआ तो
जी
आपको यू कैन मिनिमाइज इट यूजिंग एनी क्लासिकल मेथड एज वेल, आपको ये वेल ऑप्टिमाइजेशन एल्गोरिथम यूज करने की जरूरत नहीं थी। बट सिंस आई एम
यस
नॉट एबल टू सी दैट इक्वेशन, तो मैं ये कमेंट नहीं कर पाऊंगा कि ये इसेंशियल था या नहीं था। अदरवाइज आप सिंपल जो आपके लैग्रेंज मेथड होते हैं या स्टीपेस्ट डिसेंट मेथड होता है, उससे भी आप इस चीज को एड्रेस कर सकते थे।
जी
ठीक है, आप रिजल्ट दिखा दीजिए।
सर टेबुलर फॉर्म में है। बेसिकली फॉर द
हाँ,
जो यहाँ पे हमने सोलर रेडिएशन लिया है, different solar radiation है, but I'm basically presented here only one for the temperature 25 degrees centigrade and solar radiation 1000 watt per meter square. And I'm here using the pure resistive load only, and different load के लिए भी सर मैंने ट्राई किया था ही, and for the different values I think is it feasible. The output power which is in fractional order particular integral WA, it is 401.5 watt, and in my chaotic WA it is around 405 watt. There is definitely some increment.
इसको आपने
And
किसी दूसरी
second
एल्गोरिथम से
time,
कंपेयर करके भी देखा? हो सकता है इससे अच्छे रिजल्ट आ जाते।
नहीं सर, एक्चुअली मेरा मेन फोकस वर्क इन्हीं दोनों पर ही था। और जैसे पर्टर्ब एंड ऑब्जर्वेशनल भी हमने देखा था, इसको सर स्टडी किया था, पर उसका मॉडल सर नहीं बनाया था। आई एम सॉरी फॉर दैट सर।
ठीक है, नॉट एन इशू, ठीक है, दैट इज ऑल फ्रॉम माय एंड। और कोई कुछ पूछना चाहता है? ठीक है, आई थिंक थैंक यू कृष्ण जी। व्हाट माय सजेशन इज कि आप इसको और भी स्कीम से ट्राई करके देख सकते हैं। यू देयर माइट बी अ केस दैट कि आपको रिजल्ट और भी अच्छे मिल जाए। ठीक है,
थैंक यू सर।
ओके। I think Mr. Krishna was the last presenter. Dr. Anupam?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, so if all the presenters are done, then we can call it a day for this session. Okay, then thank you all for joining this session, and you can continue with the rest of the conference. Dr. Anupam, can you share me your email? I will email you the evaluation form which I have filled. Then you can update and send it to the organizers.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Sir, we need separate evaluation sheets from both of them.
Okay. Then it's fine. I'll
We will take the
email you
average of
directly.
that. Okay, sir. Okay, thank
Dr. Anupam can email separately. Thank you so much. Thank you, NIT Jamshedpur, for inviting me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we are very grateful to you, sir. From a part of busy schedule, you agreed to chair this session. Thank you very much for your kind support and chairing this session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Anupam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. कभी आएंगे आपसे मुलाकात होगी।
Okay, sorry. Actually, I have sent the message. I think I am typing 10:10, but
Yes, I'm waiting for that.
Yes.
एक्चुअली मुझे टाइम याद नहीं था, आपने कॉल कर दिया, मुझे टाइम देखा भी नहीं था, तो आपकी
टाइम मैंने लिख दिया। मैं सोच रहा 10:10 लिख रहा हूँ, 10:30 लिख दिया।
10:30 था।
ठीक है सर, ठीक।
हाँ,
Okay.
okay.
ओके
So, okay. Thank you very much.
ओके।
थैंक यू।
लीव द कॉल कर
मैंने
दो।
एंड कर दीजिए।
क्यों, कौन सेव कर रहा है?
कोई कौन सा को पहले तो